Hello and welcome to the 1992 series of Grandstand. Over the next few weeks, each Saturday we'll be bringing you a great variety of sports, with the highlights being marathon running, the Paralympics from Barcelona, equestrian, motocross, weightlifting, and today from the Ed Fleming lanes in Melbourne, the 1992 Australian Tenpin Cup World Series. $25,000 for the winner, the richest first prize in Australian 10-pin bowling history. With me in commentary is Steve Jones. Steve, 60 bowlers from 6 countries began that quest for the first prize. What's the standard been like so far?
Peter, the standard's been very high. The 60 bowlers started on Friday. We've cut to 24 last night. Those 24 bowlers have indeed, over that period of time until now, up to this grand final stage, bowled 23 further match games, and the scoring has been sensational, including a perfect 300 game, a rarity in national tournaments in Australia, and certainly the first at Ed Fleming lanes.
That's the equivalent, I guess, of the 147 break in snooker, so a rare sight. Who produced it?
Peter Knopp, the tournament leader at this stage from Germany. Peter is a part-time professional on the US tour, and certainly a man who has 7 perfect scores to his credit, and one here today.
It'll be lovely to see one on television. How did we get down to this final 5-step ladder phase?
Peter, as you suggested, 60 bowlers commenced the tournament. We cut to the 24. We're now down to those 5 bowlers. In our first match, we have an All-Australian final. Ian Bradford from Victoria will be competing against a young man just coming through on the national scene, Robert Thompson from New South Wales. In the next match, we have the winner of that match, indeed, will progress to play Germany's Achim Grabowski in a one-game playoff. The winner of that match will play Patrick Eriksson from Sweden, and the winner of that game will go through to compete against Peter Knopp of Germany. If Knopp is beaten, he has the right to re-challenge, as he is the leader of the tournament. So we could indeed have 5 games, not 4, but let's wait and see.
Okay, first up, it's an all-Australian affair. It's the big improver during the match play, Ian Bradford, against Robert Thompson from New South Wales. Ian Bradford will be the hometown favourite, the 32-year-old from Melbourne, one of the best bowlers Australia has produced. He really stepped it up in the match play, averaging 212 after he was in 18th position after the qualifying, an average of 195. He's had 6 perfect 300 games. Robert Thompson, the youngest player in the final 5. He's 21 years of age from Newcastle. He's only been bowling for 5 years, and he's bowled 1 perfect 300 game in his career. Ian Bradford starts off this step-ladder competition. Can he continue the climb up the rankings? He's begun well with a strike.
Peter, Ian Bradford, of course, is one of the greatest bowlers in the country. He would be certainly one of the best players we've had in 30 years, and this man's just starting his career, and what a way to do it.
Well, it could be the match of the final 5, this one. They'll know each other's games pretty well.
Peter, certainly they do. Bradford's been around for many years, 18 years he's been bowling. He has 6 perfect 300 games to his credit, and in 1988 was regarded as the 2nd best bowler in the world when he ran 2nd in the World Cup that year in Mexico. Picture of concentration, Bradford.
So consecutive strikes for Bradford. And the youngster continue this high-class opening.
He's pulled that. What happens, Peter, sometimes is with the level of talent in this country, we see a lot of bowlers bowling in television tournaments. This is Robert's first appearance on television anywhere. He was a spectacular player in Guam in 1991 with the Australian youth team that dominated that event. He won a gold medal and a silver medal. A terrific player, but I'm sure the television lights will make him a little nervous early, but an easy spare.
So he has a pin count of 20. Bradford, possible first frame score of 30 if he can follow up with another strike. Of course, those of you that aren't familiar with the scoring system, strike, and then the next 2 frames added on to give the first frame score for Bradford. And he can really put the pressure on with another strike here, just a little bit high, leaving the 10 and 6 pin. Should be a fairly easy spare for a player of his class.
No doubt. Thompson now seeing a chance to get moving on this in his 3rd frame. Strike and a spare. See what he can do here on the odd lane. Solid 10-pin, very unlucky. I think Robert thought that he had a full count, but it wasn't to be. Bradford now up for his spare cross lane to convert the easy 6-10, which he's done. Equally, Robert Thompson should find no trouble with this spare, a 10-pin conversion for him. And he's missed it. The pressure, Peter, the first time on television, the bit of nerves under the lights, and of course $25,000 up there, the biggest check in Australia. Currently the score, of course, Bradford leads by 20 with that open in the third to Robert Thompson. Bradford has a spare in the third with this bonus. 10-pin.
The adrenaline no doubt really flowing when they began, and they capitalised on it, but the task now well and truly at hand for Robert Thompson. And again, the 10-pin doesn't want to go down.
Yes, Robert's struggling here a little bit. I'm sure he has very little time, of course, to settle down. A 10-minute game of about 10 frames. And an easy spare for Ian Bradford.
No wrist guard for Robert Thompson. He too, no problem with the spare, getting some encouragement from the crowd.
He's made that.
Bradford, by contrast, quite a substantial guard. I guess that's a legacy of having bowled for some 13 years more than his young competitor.
Sure, and Peter, also Ian almost finished his career 2 years ago with a tendon injury in that arm, and has come back very well since he's had it fixed. And why not?
Just enough pin action to take out that 7.
Looks good for Thompson, and a great shot. Still fighting the young man. A perfect 10 count. A little slow on the 8-pin, but indeed 10 was the total, all into the pit. 19 pins the difference now. Both bowlers with strikes in the 5th frame. Can Bradford make this a double?
Oh, that's going to take some work to get his spare there.
The big 4 is so close to impossible. It's been converted, of course, but it's so close to impossible.
Chink of daylight. Thompson up to make it consecutive strikes. Looking good. He's back into it.
Sure is. Ian Bradford converted this spare in qualifying on Friday. Let's see if he can do it again. He certainly needs to. It wasn't. In 3 frames, Peter, the game has swung around. In the 6th frame of this first match, Ian Bradford is 113 with an open in that frame. Thompson, of course, with 2 strikes in the 5th and 6th, and he leads by 14 pins. Very disappointing for Robert. He thought he had it, the ball was just a little high, and therefore leaving that 4-pin. An easy conversion, but he certainly wanted to capitalise on that double with 3 consecutive strikes. Bradford now needs to work hard.
It's good.
That's great.
Starting it way out near the gutter, which makes us amateur bowlers quake in trepidation. These guys, they get so much work on it. The pin action helped him, and there's another open from Thompson. Second in the match. He wouldn't have done that probably, well, certainly today.
Peter, what the game gets down to is that, what do they say in golf? You drive for show and you putt for dough. In bowling, it's a bit like that. You strike for show and spares are your bread and butter. That's the difference between winning and losing. And a wry smile from Bradford I detected there. I think he can see that that's let the door open and return the match to a degree in his favour.
And a bowler of his experience he takes those opportunities.
Well, he sure does, and in 2 frames he's turned the match around to now lead by 18 pins. Thompson now desperate.
Too high again, leaves the 6-pin. Well, we were saying just how sudden death it really is at this step-ladder stage. 10 minutes and you're out.
Exactly.
And it's changed the complexion of the match 3 times, really.
That's right. And Thompson knows it, and that would have a lot to do with the reason he pulled the ball across himself, and that's why the ball went left of the headpin to leave the comparatively easy 6-pin spare for him, but that's not what he needs now. He needs strikes.
2 frames to go.
Bradford wiping the excess oil off his ball. The lanes here at Ed Fleming Lanes are a lot wetter than we are used to in this country. We put more oil down, which is to set to an international condition, and the fact of the matter is that the bowlers have struggled a little, but these certainly the cream has risen to the top. Bradford's one of those. This looks great. It is.
Well, the noose tightening on Robert Thompson. He's got to answer with a strike now. Yes.
Score currently 145 in the 8th. In 145 in the 8th frame.
Bradford, 3 consecutive strikes. Very deliberate in his setup. Gets the feet in the right position on the marker dots. And he's visualising a strike, and he's got it. No, leaves the 7.
With that, he was on target for a 220 game before that shot. Now has a possible 212. Thompson needs to strike out for a 205, but Bradford must spare. He's done all he can do. He's struck. He has a strike in the 9th and 10th frames. Bradford effectively needs to spare this to close out Thompson and go to the next match. And he's missed. 200 game to Bradford. Thompson needs a strike to win.
Well, it couldn't be any more tantalisingly set up than this. What?
Anything but a strike. Anything but a strike here, Peter, and Ian Bradford goes to the next match. If Thompson strikes here, he goes to the next match and Bradford finishes 5th. This young man must strike to go forward.
Hurry, ball, come on! Oh, the pin action saved him. And he goes up the step ladder at the expense of Ian Bradford.
This is an unbelievable strike with the pins falling. It's a good release. It stays out on the lane a little longer. He nearly leaves the bucket and then they all fall. You couldn't believe it. And do you think he was happy? He has to get 6 here, at least 6 pins. And
well, what a way to finish off with the perfect strike after the imperfect one won it for him, but he's not complaining. And Ian Bradford, after an incredible move up the rankings, departs from the Ed Fleming Lanes, beaten by 5 pins. Robert Thompson 205, Ian Bradford 200 in a game that, well, was of high quality.